Oh, are you ready?
She's in a hurry.
Okay. Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm an alcoholic addict. I just want to say before I start my life story, the people that are in this room, this is our biggest group since we started in September. This is amazing that our word is getting out and more people are coming. Like, I have goosebumps right now. It's amazing. Like, welcome everybody. So my journey started at a very young age. I remember my father being a drunk at all ages, or at all ages. At the time of the age of 4, it didn't stop there. My parents divorced when I was 6 years old, and the problem didn't stop. They continued to get worse. My father was always gone every night after work at the bars, and then he would just come home late. That's when I started living with my grandparents. When I got a couple years older, I moved back in with my father. I thought it had gotten better. But that was not, that's what I get for doing my own thinking. I still do my own thinking and it still gets in the way.
I see that.
It seemed to only get worse, but not only did he go to the bars after work and continue drinking, he was bringing home different women every night, every week. And that's when the drugs started. I was about 8 years old at this time. When I was about 9, my father and I moved to Washington for about a year. I stayed with my grandparents once again because he started drinking again. And it had taken over, and when he got drunk, he was very abusive. At this point, my dad had promised me that he was going to be a better dad and quit drinking, so I believed him at this point because, of course, he was my father. And I didn't have my mother. Well, then my dad had met my stepmother, and it slowly got back into drinking, and then they were both drinking, and drugs started again. I moved back in with my father. He said it was all done, but it wasn't. I walked into my parents' room at that time and was always filled with smoke. I didn't realize what was going on at the time. They just said, "Oh, we have incense going." And that's where all the smoke was coming from. And moving from the age of 9, that was the last time I had seen my biological mother. That is when I lost contact with my mom's side of the family, and it was very hard on me. At the age of 13, I have gotten the worst phone call of my life on July 5th of 2003. I received a phone call to say, "Come and identify the body." Because they thought it was my mother, and they needed confirmation that it was. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, hoping and praying to God that it wasn't my mother, but unfortunately it was. She was also involved in drugs and alcohol, and her husband at that time was just feeding her to keep her happy, you can say. Well, when her husband had found out that she was coming home on the 5th of July, on the 4th of July, he'd found out, seen my mom's stuff and my dad's stuff, or my brother's stuff packed in the back of the truck, and that's when he took matters into his own hands and murdered my mother. She did not die from alcohol or drugs, but she was murdered from the forced trauma from the back of her head, strangulation, and she was raped. At this time of my life, shortly after basketball season had started, and that is when I got my first taste of drugs. They had prescribed me, but this is where it started for me. I had torn my ACL, my meniscus, and my MCL in my right knee, and the doctors put me on pain medication. And those pain medication got me through my mom's death and started my journey as a drug addict. I didn't realize I was addicted to them until I couldn't get anymore, and I was withdrawing, and I was with my aunt, which had taken me under her wing as a mother. And she got up in my face and said, "What the hell are you doing? This is not you." And then that's when I realized I was addicted and I needed help. So from the age of 14 to 22 was my addiction through pain medication. And now I have 12 years, 9 months, and a week from pain medication.
Good girl.
And I thought I was good after that. No more drinking, no more taking prescription drugs. Well, that was not the case. In 2015, I had lost my brother due to a house fire because of my stepmother owing drug dealers money. And they said it was electrical fire, so they were never charged for the death of my brother. My life was unmanageable, and I couldn't take life on life's terms. After signing my daughter over to her father, I started using meth August 13 of 2015. I first tried methamphetamine at the age of 24, and I took it, and before I got too far into my drug addiction, I had signed my daughter over to her biological father. I thought it was one of the biggest regrets, I think that was one of the regrets that hit very hard for me. Why, you may ask? Because I gave up my rights to my daughter, and I was destroying myself, and I was not there when she needed me. The most time that she was with her father was 4 years, and he was sexually assaulting me and raping my daughter. And mentally and physically abusing her as well. And he would keep her from me so I wouldn't see the bruises or the damage he was actually doing to her. So that kept me in my addiction, because it's like, if I can't have my daughter, what am I supposed to do? In 2026, almost a year later, we had got raided and not really opened my eyes. But the police officer said I had 5 things to do. So I asked the police officer what those 5 things might be. He said, get away from the place that I was at. Get away from the guy that I was dating at that time. Get a job, get clean and sober, and get my daughter back. And I was able to do this all within 5 months. I got clean and sober for a little while, but it wasn't much time before I went back out there. And I felt like I was too much, because I felt like it was too much for me asking when it really wasn't. That's when I found my significant other. And I am still with currently today. It's been 9 years in January.
Wow.
You know, we've had our ups and downs, in and out of addiction. There was times in our addiction where we were running with the wrong people, getting involved with the wrong people at one point, and we actually got separated due to our actions. I ended up taking this guy's bag and hiding it in the bathroom, which was not the smartest choice I ever made. He ended up locking James out of the room, where he did things to me where I did not want to do, and separate us, and we were separated for hours on end, but we finally came back together and we were okay. A time after that, we had separated because he wanted to get clean, but I did not. And I continued for about a week after our separation in 2017. And then I finally got clean, I got a job, and I was messing around with another guy because we weren't together. And I got pregnant by him. We all make mistakes in our addictions, but it is a blessing that came out of this addiction run. When I was a month clean, I found out that I was pregnant with my son. And that's where my journey really took off, of my recovery in 2020. 2017. I got a phone call. Wait, hold on a second. I lost my place. Hold on. When I got pregnant with my son, they said I couldn't have any more kids. James and I got back together and was there for every appointment for me. We ultimately got back together, and he was there for the birth of our son. That's when my journey really took off in my recovery. And it was 2020, I got a phone call saying that I need to go pick up my daughter immediately from her father, and we had trial. It went for a while, but I fought my ground. I had 2 years clean and sober. The judge had seen all the hard work that I was putting in and found me as a fit mother. It was the best day of my life. She granted me full custody of my daughter and found her father unfit, but had to be supervised visits on September 30th of 2020. I cried, I laughed, I smiled. And it hasn't been easy since I had her. She's gone through a lot of trauma and has had trust issues. But we are rebuilding that, and I can say today that we have very well communication and a bond we have gained. But we are still working through our struggles. Recovery isn't easy, and you have to work at it every day and move forward and make those right choices and decisions to keep where you are and taking another 24, which brings me to my current in 2025. July 17, I will have 8 years clean and sober. And about a couple months ago, we had received news that our pup had died, and we had him since my son was about 6 months old, and we got him at 8 weeks old on Christmas, and it really tore me up. He was part of the family. Like, I was saying really harsh things to the lady that had her. I do feel resentment towards her at that point in time, but I have worked through them with God and the support system that I have here. So I still blame her to an extent, but I know at the same time I can't blame her as well, because we couldn't care for our pup because he bit our landlord twice. And so I had to get rid of him. He was very protective of the family. Nobody could come around the family. He was very aggressive, but he was a big teddy bear. He loved us. He can let my son lay on him, play with his ears, bite him, and he wouldn't do nothing to him. Like, it was crazy, but he made it through, and so it was really hard on me. And today, bringing all the way up to current now, we have all 5 of our kids now. We have our apartment. I have finished halfway through my first semester of school, and I'm really proud of myself. Between work and home life and school full time, let me tell you, I filled my plate full. But I'm over there, Ed. But I am working at it day by day and not letting my recovery slip, because if I can't keep in my recovery, how am I supposed to maintain work? How am I supposed to maintain a family? How am I supposed to maintain my schooling? I wouldn't be able to. I'd be off in La La Land somewhere drawing pictures or cleaning. Like, that's what I did in my addiction. That I wouldn't be paying any attention to the family. And I realized that self-care is the biggest thing that I have to come grasps with, because I always put myself to that back burner. And there's no need to. There's time for life. There's time for family. There's time for work. There's time for school. But the most important thing is taking your time for yourself. Last night, I apologize to all that made it to the NA bowling that I was not there last night. I was actually taking self-care time for myself. And I went and got my nails done, and I booked us a room. We've been for next month, so we will not be here March 22nd through the 26th, so we will be missing church, and we will be missing both of our meetings that week. We have been waiting 2 years.
Throwing up a disclaimer right now.
We have been waiting 2 years for this one room, and it finally popped up. And so I took my chance and I booked it. It's right on the beachfront, king size bed, huge room, and it has the private hot tub. I'm so excited for the hot tub, you guys. The kids go to sleep. The kids go to sleep, and we can have some self-care time with each other and spend some time with one another. With one another. Nobody will be looking. The kids will be asleep. No. But, we only get to do this once a year, and I'm pretty freaking excited for this trip. Not only, we make it every year, but this year is different. I keep my sobriety time, and James, for the first time since we've been going to the beach every year, this will be his first time being clean and sober. So I am super stoked, and no cops will be called this year. Because last year the cops were called. Okay. So and I'm super excited for our trip, some self-care, get away from the area for a few days, having time with the family, much needed. And once again, I want to welcome and say this is an awesome turnout again. And with that, I will take another 24.
Yeah.